7102. Diesel powered along the line to the works. He was determined to get to the bottom of things. He was absolutely certain 199 knew more than he had been allowed to say. He shunted his trucks into place to be loaded, then he was uncoupled and went to the out-of-use line. 199 was fast asleep. Diesel tooted his horn loudly. "Wake up, you!" he called. 199 awoke with a start. He looked around wildly. "Oh, it's you," he said when he noticed Diesel. "What is it now, you wretched little box on wheels?" "That breakdown you lied about." 199 huffed crossly. "So? What about it?" "The day Denise took your train," Diesel explained. "What did you really plan?" 7102 hurried down the line. Her expression was thunderous. She had been discovered. There was no way anyone would believe she wasn't involved in this accident. She remembered Bear from the old days on the mainland. She did not want to be sent back there, to be stuffed and mounted in a museum. She and all engines of her generation belonged on the mainline, surrounded by neither steam engines nor newer engines. They, as far as she was concerned, belonged on the scrap heap. With these thoughts in her mind, she buttoned up to the coaches at Wellsworth and roared away to Crovan's Gate. "You mean she lied to everyone?" Diesel said aghast. "You did no better yourself," reminded 199. Diesel remained silent. He knew exactly what 199 meant. Another horn was heard. Bear arrived, towing Denise on a flatbed. Denise was battered, broken, and bemused. Diesel's face paled. "What happened, Denise?" he gasped. Denise explained everything. Diesel listened with great intent. "She was exactly the same on the mainland," Bear explained. "Whenever she caused an accident, she always managed to slip away before anyone figured out what had happened. Of course, this was in the days before all this CCTV stuff came in, so she was found out eventually. She was among the first of us to be withdrawn. She should never have been allowed to be preserved. But she was." She won't stop until I'm scrapped," Denise spoke shakily. "She will never change her attitude," Bear agreed. "She's got to be stopped." Diesel thought this over. It was indeed true that once he had been very much like 7102, convinced that he was revolutionary, and that other engine types were antiquated and inefficient compared to him. But then he had never actively tried to destroy another engine or put people's lives in danger. That was nothing but sheer murder. Furiously, he looked over at his trucks. They were all fully loaded. Then he looked ahead at a siding. One of the points leading to a set of buffers was jammed. It led directly to the buffers. Immediately, he began forming a plan. "I have an idea," he said, a familiar grin spreading across his face. One that he hadn't felt in years. The feeling that a particularly devious plan was forming in his mind. He explained it to the other engines. Then he rolled up to the trucks and whispered it to them. "We'll do it when I give the word," he said to them. The trucks laughed and agreed. Later, 7102 clattered into the works yard. She left her coaches in a siding and rumbled towards Denise. "No way out for you now, little mite," she sneered. "Look around you. None of your little friends are here. That old rust bucket spam can can't move. You're scrap now." Denise gulped, terrified. "Please let me be," she cried. "No chance of that," came an oily voice. Diesel buffered up behind her. I've had my doubts about you for some time now, he sneered. Coming into our yard, acting all innocent and defenseless, when all the time you new builds do nothing but send us superiors onto the scrap heap. Denise was shocked. Diesel, not you too, she wept. Oh, put away your tears, you wretched little crybaby. Why I liked you in the first place is beyond me, Diesel retorted. Good to see you've finally seen some sense, said 7102 to Diesel. Exactly, agreed Diesel. There's a train full of parts bound for the scrapyard over there. Let's put her on it and take it ourselves. You go at the head, I'll go behind. 7102 willingly agreed. Diesel shunted Denise onto the train at the very back, then placed a brake van behind her. Then he ran round to the front to double-head the train with 7102. Gleaming with pride, she backed down onto him and was coupled up. Are you ready? She tooted. Yes, I am, Diesel honked back. The two engines started to pull the long, slow train. This'll finish you off, little mate, 7102 called. Yes, agreed Diesel. You're not getting away with it this time. That was the signal for the trucks. They banged their buffers into the two engines. Diesel, in turn, banged into 7102. Eager to help, aren't you? She said, and increased her speed with a roar. What she hadn't noticed was that the points that were still working were set towards the broken ones. She was now heading straight for the buffers. Eventually, 7102 did see this and tried to stop. Wait, this is a siding! We're on the wrong line! She cried. Oh, I don't think so, Diesel said with a malicious grin on his face. He and the trucks bumped her harder and harder. 7102 tried to put on her brakes, but they were no use against Diesel and the surging trucks. They burst through the workmen's barriers and slid towards the buffers. Stop it! Wailed 7102. Stop it now! No, Diesel said firmly. You will never harm another engine again. I'll see to that. The buffers burst beneath 7102, and she and Diesel, as well as some trucks, came right off the rails, ploughed on for several yards and stopped. In the process, Diesel mounted 7102, his buffers resting on top of hers, while trucks piled up behind them. Luckily, this did not include Denise, and she stayed on her flat truck. Bear rolled out of his hiding space behind 199 and his cab door opened. Out stepped the manager and the fat controller. They had heard everything. They stormed towards 7102, while Bear shunted Denise and the unhurt trucks away. This is more than I can tolerate, shouted the manager. My engines and I give you a shelter in our museum, and this is how you repay our hospitality? The fat controller glared angrily at her. I can't believe I was this stupid to allow you onto my railway, he spoke angrily to her. And to think I even considered you for the Diamond Jubilee's rail tour. To encourage one engine to pretend to be ill is one thing. However, not only did you betray Spamcan, but also you caused Denise to do his work instead of her own, which caused her to be behind in her own work. You almost crashed her into Henry, putting both her, one of my steam engines, and my staff in danger, and you sent her through a shed wall, almost destroying her and innocent people. It wasn't me, sir, started 7102. Silence, snapped the fat controller. I do not accept engines like you on my railway. Do you even know what you almost did? You almost killed 2 engines and countless other people in the space of a week. 7102's face fell. Then a malicious expression crossed it. Alright, so what if I did? Fat bungling idiots like you don't see the beauty in real engines like me. You just prefer those old relics or useless new types who do nothing all day except shunt us onto the scrap heap. Go and feed your hat to a goat, fatty. You don't frighten me. Everyone gasped. No one had ever dared to speak to the Fat Controller like that before. That did it. The Fat Controller pointed a finger at her. Fine. If that's the way you want it, that's the way you shall have it. You shall be left here until your railway arranges for you to be sent back. I warn you, do not expect to be repaired when you return home. The Fat Controller walked over to 199. I do not approve of engines trying to avoid their work, he said. And needless to say, I will not have you on my railway either. My father sent you back once before, and I now understand why he did. Yes, sir. Sorry, sir, replied 199. However, the Fat Controller went on, you gave us useful information about what 7102's intentions were, and I should have listened to you. Therefore, I shall make an offer to your railway to have you repaired here at a discount by way of apology. Be grateful for this. It is more than what 7102 will be getting, I can assure you that much. Thank you, sir, smiled 199. The Fat Controller and the manager watched as Boko arrived with the breakdown crane. Once the trucks were back on the rails, Bear took them away. He shunted the damaged trucks into the works, where their loads were transferred onto another line of trucks. Then, he added these trucks to the train and took them to the museum. Strong chains were fastened to Diesel, and he was slowly lifted onto a flatbed before he was shunted into the works alongside Denise. 7102 was left where she was long after the breakdown train had left. Eventually, her railway's controller telephoned the Fat Controller, apologised profusely for the trouble she caused, and promised to deal with her as soon as she was sent back. And so it was arranged. Later that evening, she was lifted onto a flatbed, and Douglas took her away on his midnight goods. Her sulky expression was clear for all to see. No one ever mentioned to her that this was the last day she would be moving under her own power. The Fat Controller oversaw the operation. He strolled over to the works where the manager was talking to Diesel. He had two important matters on his mind. I do not approve of engines causing others to crash, Diesel, let alone causing this level of damage to themselves. The damages to yourself, 7102, the trucks, and those buffers will cost a fortune to repair, the manager stated matter-of-factly. Yes, sir, Diesel said sadly. Now we will have to manage without your help. We don't have any other engines to spare, and the Fat Controller is stretched for motive power as it is. I am very... I understand, sir, Diesel said sadly. He anticipated what was coming next. Proud of you, the manager smiled. You pulled off an excellent bit of detective work, Diesel. If you hadn't found out 7102's real intentions, heaven knows what other damage she might have done. The Fat Controller turned towards Denise. I take it that 7102 bullied you into telling lies to me about the, incident with the flying kipper? Yes, sir. She did, sir. I'm sorry, sir, Denise replied. Normally, I do not encourage my engines to tell lies, the Fat Controller went on, nodding his head at Diesel. Diesel looked away, embarrassed. However, I too am proud of you, Denise. I heard the full details about your accident from Bear. It was very brave of you to slow down those tankers. Without your quick thinking, the accident could have been far worse. I apologize for not acting on your behalf sooner. And thank you, Diesel, for once again saving my engines. You shall both be repaired and repainted as soon as possible. Diesel, I hope you don't think I intend to make a habit of this, but once again you shall be repaired free of charge. Denise, such courage is worthy of an engine on my railway. Once you're repaired, I want you back at work in the yards at Vickerstown. You're going to be my new station pilot there. You mean I can stay, sir? Denise asked excitedly. She and Diesel looked at each other in glee. I wouldn't have it any other way, smiled the Fat Controller. You are both really useful engines. Yet I hope you understand that causing derailment to settle issues is not something I encourage at all. Yes, sir, agreed the little Diesels. Excellent, the Fat Controller replied. But his brow creased. But I don't know what we will do about the rail tour. I was contemplating putting 7102 in charge, because I can't spare any more engines. They're all far too busy, and none of the Heritage Railway can spare theirs just at this moment. Suddenly, an idea flew into Denise's fans. She remembered a certain blue engine, whose overhaul was now nearly complete. Not all of your steam engines, sir. This is a gamble, but it may well be worth it.